Thanks.
Take a picture?
No, we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, hey.
Should get a raise, too.
All right, it is 7 o'clock, and I am calling this select board meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. So, a couple of announcements, some board openings. We have 2 openings on the Historic District Commission. We have 1 opening on the Conservation Commission, 1 opening on the Human Rights Commission, 1 opening on the Hamilton Environmental Impact Committee, and 1 associate member opening on the Hamilton Council on Aging. So everyone get excited, tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops and social media. Let's get these committees and commissions staffed. All right, we can take a few minutes if there's any public comment. If you're here in person, come up to the podium. If you're online, just raise your hand if you have any public comment. Nope.
Nobody online?
Awesome. Okay, I will switch to select board and town manager reports. Do we want to start with select board members? Anybody
We're
here?
doing our liaison roles tonight, so I haven't attended any meetings in the past 2 weeks, so.
Okay. Anybody over there got anything to report?
No, I'd just like to add that the Master Steering Committee met last week. We have our public forum on May 17th. So look for some more information on that, on signing up. Would love to have everyone attend and see all the good work that's been done to date. So May 17th, I think it's 6:30 PM to about 7:30.
Awesome. Tom, anything from you?
No, I'm good.
Nothing from you? I just have 2 updates from the Board of Health. The first, and this, I'm going to be reading this. The town's private water well regulations have not been touched in 35 years. And so the Board of Health is going to be looking at our regulations. The state DEP just issued a new model private water well regulations, so they're going to be in the process of developing new regulations to align with those outlined by the state. Secondly, they're working on developing a new program to help residents whose septic systems have failed but who cannot afford to replace it. Heather Ford of the Hamilton Foundation has brought this to our attention, and so that's something that they're doing right now. They've started the process of developing such a program, or at least outlining what we would need to implement such a program for folks, because good individual septic equals good collective town septic. So that's all for me. Joe, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, real quickly, and then we have an update from our auditor and finance director. But real quickly, just the town manager report is being worked on now as we speak. One item that I'd like to update you on is that the school building feasibility committee has met with the state today and the OPM that have been chosen by that group. So there was an interview today with MSBA. MSBA has approved them, so they'll be signing a contract by May 5th, and then they'll begin designer selection for the feasibility study for the new elementary school. I think that's the biggest thing I wanted to tell you about today. And we have Jim Piotrowski from CLA, the town's auditing firm, here to give you do a review of the annual town audit with Finance Director Wendy Markowitz, who's on Zoom.
Welcome. Did you want golf claps or snaps? No preference?
Golf claps sound
Okay.
good. Would the board prefer to have hard copies distributed? I don't know if you had the chance to review them electronically. I do have a set of hard copies if they're going to pass those out.
I'll grab one if you
Yeah,
if
Okay.
you have
do
them.
pass hard copies out.
Will do.
I mean, I obviously poured over it beforehand,
So what's a,
as I'm sure you all did as well.
I have not. Did we
I
get
have
this
not either,
before?
Bill, don't worry.
so to grab 3 different reports.
3 different, oh, they're stacked, though.
I got you.
Hey, Sean, how you doing? Good to see you.
Pass those down.
Oh, how
They're
do I
in
get this thing
stacks.
out of this mode? I want to get it into...
There's that for you.
Carol, I would actually like to run the rest of the meeting, that's
Well,
okay.
you know, Joe told me I was replaced, so
Joe, will you
I
pass-
didn't, that was Tom
will
that told you
pass
that.
those
That was
out?
Tom that told you that.
There's 3 things. I think we need 1 more stack. Do you have 1 more stack?
I actually don't. I only
I don't
brought-
have,
Oh.
I have one, I don't need one.
Okay, never mind.
All right,
We
so
don't.
okay,
good.
perfect.
You got one, good. We're good.
All right.
thank you.
pass the torch back.
Joe set to go with the PowerPoint?
I think, I'm just trying to get the view lined up so that this guy isn't hiding it. Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. Okay, go ahead, I can
That works.
page through.
All right, so thanks everyone for having me here tonight. It's good to see everybody. Just to reintroduce myself, my name is Jim Petrowski. I am a principal with CLA. We are the audit firm who performed the town's fiscal 2022 financial statement audit. I'm here to present the results, and we can go to the next slide. So just to give an overview, we'll talk about what CLA was engaged to do as part of the audit. I will give an executive summary of the results. I will go over some of the key financial highlights and some discussion there. I will discuss the management letter and then and as well as the required communications that we have to make to the board as part of the audit. I can go to the next slide, Joe. So just in terms of the engagement, during the performance of our audit, we are engaged to express an opinion on the town's financial statements and their fair presentation in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. This requires us to test the underlying financial transactions that make up those financial statements. Based on the results of that testing, we gather enough evidence to express our opinion on the financial statements. In addition, as we're performing our test work, we do review the town's internal controls over financial reporting, as well as compliance with laws and regulations that could impact the financial statements. We don't opine on internal control or compliance. However, if there were any sort of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to come up, they would be present in that internal control report. And inherently during an audit, we're always going to identify certain best practices that we want to recommend to management of the town. Those would show up in the management letter. It's a pretty common occurrence to have a few best practice comments throughout the audit, but those are just things we notice. Again, not significant enough to warrant an internal control communication, but something we want to point out for management for moving forward. So we can go to the next slide.
What the hell? Come on. That's not advancing for me.
Cursor, take it down?
Hmm?
If you hit your down cursor, will that take it down the next page?
Page down button?
I tried that.
Right
Didn't
arrow.
Didn't work.
Oh,
Oh, we got it.
There we
All
go.
right.
So just to give the overall summary of results, this year the town once again received an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That's the clean opinion, best available, that indicates based on our test work performed that the financial statements this year are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. I do want to note that in the opinion this year, we did have an emphasis of matter paragraph for the implementation of GASB Statement Number 87, which was the lease accounting standard. This resulted in a couple of additional disclosures. However, this is a very common occurrence in many of the communities we work with the required implementation of this new lease standard. It had no impact on the opinion, so while there's new disclosures, we still expressed a clean opinion on the financial statements and were able to get the evidence we needed. Additionally, in the internal control report, no findings to note regarding any sort of internal control or compliance matters that we had to communicate to the board. The required governance communication letter, we'll talk about some of the required communications later on. And then in the management letter, 3 comments for this year, all recurring comments, and we'll go over the nature of those later on. So I'll get into some of the financial highlights next. In the governmental activities on page 14, the total government-wide net position was around $17 million at the end of the year. This was primarily composed of the net investment in capital assets of around $18 million. Now, you'll also see there's an unrestricted deficit of $5.2 million at year end. This is a fairly common occurrence due to the recognition of the net pension and net OPEB liabilities, which are required in that statement to be presented in accordance with GAAP. And we'll get into some of those liabilities later on as well.
Is there a recommended, percent of the total plan that should be, or is that high, in your opinion?
That deficit, it is not super high in relation to some of the other communities that we've seen. So that dollar deficit total, those are, usually we're looking at the tens of millions of dollars. So to have them that low, it's not typically high balance, so. Okay. Next on page 17, at the general fund, the total fund balance at year end was $11.7 million. You'll see the components broken out, just with the committed fund balance, $3.3 million at year end. 1.5 million of that was capital stabilization funds, and you'll see the other categories broken out here. Also 91,000 assigned for encumbrances, and left you an unassigned fund balance of $8.3 million, of which $2 million related to the general stabilization fund. And we're just going to give a brief overview as to the overall trend of fund balance over the past 5 years in the next couple slides. So you'll see here in the general fund for the total fund balance, that's risen nearly double from 2018 to 2022, as well as the unassigned. Well, it's not as high as the total, obviously. You still have a pretty significant increase in the unassigned fund balance for the town over the past 5 years. So overall, positive financial trend on that fund balance totals in the general fund. And then on the next slide, just to give an idea as to what this represents in relation to expenditures and transfers out, you'll see that this percentage is also increasing, while not as much as the total fund balance. This ratio of fund balance to expenditures and transfers out has increased significantly over the past 5 years. So overall, continued positive trend in general fund balance. So next to note 11, the other post-employment benefits liability, one of the key disclosures here, this liability at year-end was $4.7 million. This was calculated at a discount rate of 6.10%, previously 6.7%, and you'll see some of the sensitivity figures in that footnote, or if we're looking at a 1% increase or decrease, we're looking at a swing of around $1 million or so each way. That disclosure will also give some figures on the healthcare trend sensitivity, where if those rates were to increase or decrease, you're looking at a change of around $7 million each way, depending on the change. And then with the pension plan, again, this reports on the town's proportion of Essex Regional Retirement System. That liability year-end was around $9.7 million. This represents 2.8% of Essex Regional as a whole. That's an increase from 2.73% as of last year's measurement date. And that liability was calculated at a discount rate of 7%, which you'll see in the sensitivity analysis. If that rate were to change each way, you're looking at a swing of around $3 million each way, depending on the change in that discount rate. Are there any questions on the financial statements before we get into the management letter?
How are we getting these discount rates? And should they be the same?
In this case, with the funding levels, they're determined by the actuary, and what they've determined is that the funding levels are giving the town, in Essex Regional's case, Essex Regional Retirement, they're getting full credit for the investment returns. So they take the structure of investments and they'll put together the calculation of the discount rate. And then depending on if there's enough of a corpus investment balance, that allows them to use a higher rate if they project with that in the future. That's going to be enough to cover the future benefits. So in this case, the actuary is giving the town a decent amount of credit. I think that the bigger, I don't want to call it a surprise, but the less common occurrence is that high OPEB discount rate, where there's a strong balance of investments there. You're getting a pretty good discount rate in relation to other communities. So.
Got it, thanks.
Can I ask you kind of a follow-up, is kind of a comps kind of thing? You know, we've been pushing the OPEB stuff for a number of years now and trying to get vested. Are we on par with other communities? Are other communities in arrears over it, or is some ahead of us? Like, what's the kind of average from what your firm is seeing when you're doing your audits?
I would say with the discount rate that you're getting credit for, that's probably stronger than what we see. A lot of communities will see them just get that standard. If there's no investment balance, they have to use the municipal borrowing rate. So you're getting nearly double that in this case because of the balance in the OPEB trust. Just to give an idea on the funding percentage, I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say that the nationwide average at the state level was around an 8% funded ratio, which I think the town's is much stronger than that. So overall, just looking at the figures, town's probably in better shape there than a lot of instances that we see.
Any other questions before I move on? All right.
Okay. All right, so to get into the management letter, 3 recurring comments here with information technology. 3 pieces of this comment related to having documented policies governing the department. Vulnerability assessments, just looking at the cybersecurity environment as a whole. Just we want to always recommend that these types of assessments be performed. And then the password configurations, just when we look at the user level structure and security there, we want to make sure that we look at best practices and compare them to the towns. If those passwords aren't to best practice, we want to put that in the management letter. So 3 pieces of the IT comment that we want to recommend. In addition, the building permits comment this year, we again identified a difference between what the building department had recorded in their records versus what the town had. While not causing a material difference in the financial statements, it was still large enough where we want to point that out, that a reconciliation process between the permits records at the building department and the town are, that reconciliation is performed so that the proper total can be put in the financial statements. And then the risk assessment and monitoring plan, this is another standard comment where just the risks these days are ever evolving, and we want to recommend the town perform a risk assessment, look at any sort of financial activities that could be at risk, or maybe there's an area where controls haven't changed for some time. Really just asking questions about what sorts of things could go wrong, performing a site visit at departments, looking at the activity, seeing if there's anything that needs to be changed. And if there are any areas identified for improvement, we want to recommend that the town document those and follow up as part of a monitoring plan. So, any questions on the management letter?
Any? I mean, in my mind, and you guys have been doing our audit for a little bit of time now, you know, we typically, this is kind of our 3 recurring themes, I feel. It's our, you know, cash receipts on some things, the IT stuff, and then the last part here, and it is overall pretty benign things. You know, it's their job to kind of find something, so.
Sure, and it's, like you said, Sean, it's always going to happen as far as finding best practice recommendations. I will say the nature of the IT comment and the risk assessment comment, that is something we're going to often communicate on our management letters.
But it seems like some of the recommendations are easy recommendations, so is it something that's hard to?
We're working on the IT stuff,
Yeah.
both in our regional IT agreement with the folks, the group out of Danvers and Wenham, and there's 8 or 9 towns that are Manchester, Essex. So we're making some changes in the way we secure our IT. We've also taken out additional insurance with Maya for cybersecurity.
Okay.
And that's required us to do some other things that Andy Wood, our IT director, is undertaking. So those things should all be in place this year. With the building permits, we're going to online permitting. Permit Link should be active soon. The last step to do that was to get a laptop in service for people that want to come in and apply for a permit in person. We need a laptop still. So that should help clear up any discrepancies, because all the permit applications will be going through the Permit Link. And with the new finance director, Wendy, on board, she's a strong accountant, and she'll really be looking at risk assessment and monitoring, and she's already talked about wanting to clean up some of our policies just to strengthen them. Not that we were doing anything wrong, but just to improve them. So I think we're going to address all 3 of these this year, so.
That's perfect.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
We can go to the next slide. So just to get into some of the other required communications to the board, the significant accounting policies, these are all discussed in the notes to the financial statements. We didn't note any transactions that lacked authoritative guidance. No unclear note disclosures or anything of that nature. Didn't identify any significant or unusual transactions to highlight. All the disclosures are required by GAAP, nothing unusual to be presented there. The audit adjustments, those are communicated in the letter as well. Those are typical and required for us to be able to take the town's records, convert those to the GAAP basis. It's a typical part of our process. We did note one uncorrected misstatement related to the difference in bond premium amortization. That's another common type of difference that we'll have in the GAAP basis versus town records. Disagreements with management, there were none identified. Representations were required to obtain those as part of the annual representation letter. I weren't aware of any sort of consultations with any other accountants during this process, and any significant items were communicated with management just as a course of our normal relationship with the town. And with that, I would open it up to any other questions.
Any other questions for Jim?
What are your options and opinions? You said we're unmodified, right?
Yep.
What are your options on that?
So there's a couple of other options. We could have what's called a modified opinion, which there's 2 different wordings in the standard for this first level. It would be a modified opinion, but it'd be expressed as qualified in the sense that there would be a balance that we could specifically identify that's wrong, but it's limited to that balance of transactions. So something that's really isolated to one event.
Transaction.
The next piece would be an adverse opinion, indicating essentially that the financial statements are wrong, which would mean that there are errors or misrepresentations that are impacting really a pervasive amount of information in the financial statements, where we they're either presented incorrectly or we could not obtain enough evidence to where we can't really support anything reported in the financial statements. So those are the other two options,
So there's
really.
3 in total, and this is the best one.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good work.
The whole financial team, it's not, Hamilton's had really strong audits for a number of years here now, so while I'd love to take the credit for it, I think we have a good organization, everybody's doing their job, so.
You've got a good team.
You've had some attrition as well, right? So, I mean, you've worked through that without any gaps.
Yeah, we've been smart about some attrition, but also some people that have left and been replaced, and we're just trying to do our best to bring them into the organization and keep things moving in the right direction, so.
You feel you're adequately staffed in that area?
To be determined.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. We are down a person in the accounting office right now. We're working with a consultancy service to help get some of the behind-the-scenes work done and help bring Wendy up to speed. Wendy and I will be having some conversations about how do we move forward. It's a very tough market to hire accountants in right now. So we'll have to talk some more and figure out what the best way forward is. We're not there yet to make a recommendation.
Okay.
And then I see Wendy's online with us, and I see John McGrath from the FinCom. Wendy, do you or John have any comments or questions for Jim at this time?
I don't. I was not part of this particular audit, so I just want to thank Jim for presenting to everybody, and I look forward to working with him on the next audit.
Thank you, Wendy.
All right, seeing John's not saying anything, I'm going to assume he doesn't have anything to say, which is odd for John.
Yeah, that's true. No, I think the question I asked Jim last year was, do you see any trends going in the wrong direction? I think the answer is probably no, based on what I just saw. But generally, I usually focus on trends rather than point in time.
Yeah, me too.
So Jim, I think what I saw, you didn't see any trends going in the wrong direction. Is that a fair summary?
I think that's fair, John, and especially that some of the key pieces we pointed to, the general fund balance, the funding of the unfunded pension and OPEB liabilities, when we look at this in relation to other communities in the Commonwealth, that these are pretty strong balances in relation to those. So I would agree, John.
Awesome.
Thanks.
All right, unless anybody's got anything else, thank you very much, Jim, for coming in and sharing this with us. We appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, did we get through,
We're into the main part of the agenda now, National Grid Utility Pole hearing.
all right, so,
Michael is here from National Grid.
all right. Michael, are you with us from National Grid there online?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Michael. So up next, we're going to work on your agenda item, National Grid Utility Pole hearing for work at 156 Gregory Island Road.
Okay. Yeah, so for this job, we're just petitioned to install about 5 feet of conduit from an existing pole to the customer's property.
And is a map in our packets, Joe?
It is.
That's
Let me
right.
see if
I didn't
can
find
pull
what
it
page
up.
it's on. Here's National Grid.
Try and pull this up, hold on.
And just while Joe's looking for that, if we have any butters that are online or in person, feel free to chime in anytime if you got a comment.
Anybody find what page it starts on?
It's on page 30 in the packet of 47, if that's the packet you're looking at.
Yep.
Yep, got it.
I mean,
You got the
that's
map
the
up here.
map anyway, but the other kind of nitty-gritty is before it.
So it's just a total of 5 feet of conduit underground from the pole to the property line, is that right, Michael?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So you'll dig the hole and then repair the hole?
Yep.
And
Yep.
You figure a day with a detail or something like that, or are you going to need a detail?
No, it's on the Gregory Island is it's not a busy street, so I don't think we'll need a detail.
Yeah,
But yeah, it should be pretty quick. It should take like 1 to 2 hours.
okay.
No sidewalk or anything?
No, well, yeah, it's a sidewalk. Yep.
Sidewalk.
So we're going from the
Do you
pole
go
and the
under-
sidewalk
do
to
you-
the property.
Do you have
so
to
it's
pull
about
that
5
up, or do you go under it?
Did you hear that, Mike?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I had just asked, do you like shoot under it, or do you have to tear up the sidewalk and then replace it?
We tear up this. We just trench. I guess we do tear up the sidewalk a little bit, but we do fix it after.
Is it blacktop out there? Is it hot top out there, or is it concrete?
It's not concrete. I think it's dirt, I believe. It's
It could
so
very well
I
be.
think it's like the pole has grass around it, but we know it's public property.
Right, it's
It's not
probably
part of the-
crushed stone or
yeah.
something, or just dirt, okay. All right, anybody want to make a motion? It seems fairly benign.
Straightforward.
Make a motion to approve the, somebody give me the words.
Underground petition for 156 Gregory Island Road.
46 Gregory Island Road.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, if no further discussion, say aye.
Aye?
Aye, the ayes have it unanimously. Thank you, Michael, for joining us, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next we have request to use Patton Park in Weaver Pond for the amphibious race on May 17th.
Sean Timmons is here if you want to ask him any questions. The application was approved by the rec director, police chief, and fire chief. This is an annual event. It's happened for several years now. If you have any questions, Sean's here.
Sean, this is what, we've done it at least 3 times, I think, maybe more.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I mean, as far back as I can remember, yeah, it's a really cool event. It's fun. I know they do get a big crowd out there. So I know Jeff, the teacher, works hard on that, and the kids really do enjoy it. So I'd say at least 3. You know, you try to remember, pre-COVID, and it's
Yeah, that's what I'm
all
thinking.
kind of a
Pre-COVID, I
haze.
think it
So,
was at least
but
3.
they definitely were doing it prior to COVID. So I think last year was their first year back post-COVID. So I know the kids really look forward to it to each year, and they obviously have all the safety personnel down there from our police and fire to make sure that it's a safe event. For the kids obviously going across the pond.
Has anybody here been down there for this?
No.
If you get a chance, it's a riot, it really is.
You've seen it?
Yeah, it's funny, they're sinking and trying not to sink, and it's really fun.
It's probably pretty cold in that pond.
Yeah, this time of year, it's a little chilly, yeah.
a little bit.
Fortunately, it's not that deep.
Yeah.
Probably walk across.
All right, anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the request for the amphibious race at Patton Park on May 17th.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye?
All right.
Aye, ayes have it, unanimous. Thanks, Sean, for joining us, appreciate it.
Good seeing you, Sean.
He'll be here for the next one, so.
Oh, okay. Up next, we have proposed memorandum of understanding, or MOU, as many of us know it, between the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District and the Hamilton Wenham Regional Recreation Department. And we also have our illustrious Superintendent Eric Tracy on the line as well.
That is true.
Sean, do you want to kind of kick this off, or Eric, when you guys just kind of explain to the folks at home what we're talking about here?
Sure, I can jump in if that will help. As you may remember, back in during the town meeting, one of the provisions of the community preservation funds was to put together an MOU between Recreation Department and the school department. We actually had one from a few years back, so we revisited that one and made some changes and adjustments and came to this one that we have here in front of you tonight that both our attorneys and I believe the Hamilton attorneys have looked at, vetted, and approved. We think it's fair. We think certainly flexible as well. We're always, always in conversation with Sean, so I know Craig and Sean are always talking, so there's always a lot of flexibility built into that as well. So this is kind of the final product, to meet that goal.
Town council's biggest change was to ask that the board vote to authorize Sean Farrell, the chair, to sign the contract. I think that originally it had been proposed for either myself or Sean Timmons to sign the contract. Council felt it was an MOU being exercised would be best exercised by the board, so,
Really, over the town manager?
in this case,
Yeah, Sean's name's on it.
in this case.
From the big cheese.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, I just don't understand the...
You doubt my authority?
No, I have faith in you both. I just don't want to imply that Joe can't handle it.
I think it just more had to do with the rights of the town, lasting longer than me, certainly. So the board's always here.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Hopefully you've looked it over. It's a fairly short MOU. It's pretty straightforward, as Eric said, and Eric and Sean are always working with Craig and flexibility and whatnot if anything kind of comes up.
Is this completely new, is it completely new write-up, or is it just changes to it? Or is it a different format? I didn't look at the old one compared to the new one.
So I think, you know, because obviously Craig and I had worked on the old one together too. So the, I guess the parameters are still pretty much the same about the time of use and things of that nature. That state of probably, you know, I don't think the attorneys actually got to it prior. So it's probably more kind of changes in the language around, you know, any technicalities or legal items, but the actual kind of the meat and potatoes of it, the actual usage has remained the same throughout. And it's something that I think, you know, Craig and I, you know, both think is reasonable. We both think it's achievable. And I think one thing that we did put in there is we do want to sort of kind of, you know, each year kind of take a revisit and a look at it just to make sure that, you know, that we're really making sure that you know, we're kind of sticking with our plan and with kind of the usage of the facility.
What does that process look like as far as the annual review? Does it have to be a re-signature, or like is there some sort of meeting to discuss it, or I guess what does that process look like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would require another signature. I think it's more of, hey, like, you know, what's your schedule look like this year? Remember, like, the high school schedule can change from a year-to-year basis. Sometimes, you know, maybe they'll play on Wednesday nights or on the weekends, or so I think it's more just figuring out the schedule and taking a look at that, and then kind of you know, kind of looking at usage based on that. Also, you know, just year to year, our youth sports teams can fluctuate with numbers or fluctuate with their needs. So I think it's more taking a look at, you know, year to year of our actual needs and what the usage patterns are going to look like.
Well, and, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, 'cause, I mean, under the general provisions, under amendments, so I'm assuming if like the schedule changes, then there need to be amendment to the contract, and then it has to be redrafted and re-signed every year. Is that, I mean, I'm just wondering
If there's significant changes, then you're saying?
yeah, I mean, if there's like, because I know we have like the schedule in here, like the times and everything, so I'm thinking if, you know, I'm just curious if there's a way to do it where the actual times are not in the MOU, and it's maybe like an appendix to the MOU that can be changed rather easily, as opposed to, you know, making amendments to the actual document that has to be re-signed every year. I don't know, just a thought. I don't know if we want to run it by
Right, because
town
the way it's
council.
kind of written now, if there's any changes, we've got to revisit.
It's a pretty big window, though. I mean, they're basically saying not nighttime, which,
Yeah, I mean, it may not change. I'm just curious if it's being reviewed every year, and, you know, and there is a change to the schedule, under the amendments clause, it says that, you know, you'd have to basically amend the document, re-execute the document. I'm just curious if there's a cleaner, easier way to do it, but I'm fine the way it is, but I was just curious if there's another option.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I think it's at least the first year, I think, give it the opportunity to get through the first year and then and do a full review, because I think we'll find some things that we didn't anticipate with maybe youth sports or public use, and then I think it will get to a tighter document that we don't have to necessarily formally review and sign every year.
Yeah, I think great minds think alike. I was just about to say something similar with let's get a year under our belt and then revisit it.
Well, it's also that, was also, is the turf field going to change anything with hours of use or?
Well, this was
types
being
of-
down there, yeah.
This is with it and kind of
This was being
anticipation
done
of
for
it.
the turf field.
But I mean, but we don't know, we don't know exactly how it's going to impact it, right? Like you
Right,
said,
right.
right? Until it actually is built and we're using it, but.
Right.
yeah.
Hey, should we throw in other facilities like Patton Park or tennis courts or any other shared athletic facilities? This only speaks to the middle school and high school, correct?
The tennis courts, I think they're in here, aren't they?
Yeah.
And
High school
Patton Park's
courts.
on there for the baseball?
Yeah.
I may have missed it. Just reading it.
You know, I think, I mean, you know, I think this was executed, you know, due to basically, you know, the Hamilton CPC asking for this to be done. Each, you know, we have our own, you know, the town, the rec department has their own reservation policy for the schools. The schools have their own reservation policies for our youth sports playing, you know, on there. So, I mean, you know, to be honest, I mean, we've been sharing facilities forever. So I think, you know, in this case, I think it was really the CPC kind of driving the MOU because they wanted to make sure, 100% that this was going to be publicly available and not just for the schools before they allocated the funding.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good practice to have, that's all. But I agree, kick the tires for a year and tighten it up as we go, if needed.
In the CPC, if this is their ask, did they review this and say?
They didn't, they can't execute the document.
We have
No,
not,
but
'cause
did they at least?
That's your.
I know, but did they read it to say?
as the CPC member, we requested it,
Okay.
but we haven't, it's kind of out of our
Okay.
pay grade, I guess.
This is in the spirit of what you were looking for?
Yes, for
Okay.
sure. We just wanted, as Sean had just alluded to, that we're looking to guarantee that there was still public access to the facilities that they, public, since we're paying a hefty bill for it.
It sounds
we wanna
like-
have some access to.
Sounds like they're on the same page, so.
Yeah. My only kind of question is, when we review it in a year, Eric and Sean, what do you think the best timing is as far as a review period? Would you say kind of between school end and school start, like a summer review, or is it a better time? Like, I just kind of want to lock down a time to, revisit it and review it. Sometime that you'll have schedules and stuff from your AD and et cetera, that we can figure it all out again if we need to make changes.
Yeah, so I think we should definitely, go ahead, Eric, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sean. Oh, you, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think we definitely need to get, the times where use will be shared a full season. So that would be a spring and a fall season. So I guess really kind of depending upon when it's built and when we get started and when the sports actually start to play on there, it might, that might shift a little bit. But at least, I think at the very least to get a spring into fall season in before taking a look at it.
All right. So I guess I'll trust your judgment and leave it up to you to review. Eric, go ahead.
Sorry, keep in mind, it probably, if we start building in spring of '24, the first availability will be, first availability for use will be late '24 or early '25. So we're probably looking at the end of the '25-26 school year as a review period, like that June, July slot.
Right.
So we have some time
So
too.
we got plenty of time to think about it. All right.
Then only come back to the board if there are changes. Otherwise, it assumes that the initial document carries over.
Right.
I think so, unless something comes up in the meantime, that you would bring it back to us before you even get started, I guess, if that makes sense.
Just for changes.
Yeah.
Right.
I have just a silly question. So the entirety of agreement clause obviously says that like this MOU replaces all other MOUs. But multiple times in this, it says as currently agreed upon or as agreed upon in prior agreement. And it doesn't actually state what was agreed upon or how it currently, like custodial fees aren't listed. Should those be updated or added, or is it fine that it just sort of refers to an agreement that is now not accessible?
So the MOU you have in front of you, it actually, there's a line in there that states that the fees will be paid by the school district specifically.
I'm just, like,
And then
there's this line saying
Any
it's in
previous
place now.
agreement would have been between Craig Genualdo and Sean Timmons through the current Hamilton process for reserving fields.
Okay. I just saw this phrase, same as in place now, like 4 or 5 times, where normally we would like state an agreement or state a price or state a fee. It says like access to the bathrooms would be require custodial, same as in place now. Is that okay? I'm just asking if that's okay. If the fee changes and it's not written here and the former MOU is no longer active, it just seems like a weird way to write an agreement is all. I don't know. I'm not a contracts attorney.
Yeah, the fees, the only reason the fees change for something like custodial services is because of their negotiated contract items. So their hourly rate or their minimum rate would change generally annually with their contract. So we basically say if you need a custodian on Sunday for youth sports, we all already know that they're going to be there for X hours and there's a specific payment for based on the contract currently in place for the custodial group.
Like, it doesn't need to have the verbiage same as in place now. It can
Right,
just
it's
say,
just like, it's like a weird.
I don't think it
just
really
say
needs it.
require a custodial fee, period. Move on,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's fine. It is, I agree with Caroline, it's a little bit
Right.
confusing, but we all know what it
Well,
means.
there might be this unknown document
I don't know if that
May haunt us.
I wouldn't stop, it just seemed like a weird way to write it, but that's fine if it's
That's
not.
just legalese, yeah.
I just want to read the term, once again, like, this term's supposed to be in, perpetuity, but the terms are like weird, right?
Where are we looking
Once
here?
again, like, I'm not concerned, because we have a great team right now, I'm looking forward to 2, 3, 4 years down the road, but it says, the MOU is effective upon the date and date signed, effective for 1 year. This MOU may be terminated without cause by either party upon a 6-day written notice. Which notice shall be delivered by hand certified mail. The MOU can be extended annually upon agreement of all parties. So, I mean, there's no term, there's no terms. This is just like, this is a document we're signing today, but unless both parties agree to it tomorrow,
It's at will.
it goes away. So once again, I like I'm not worried about today, tomorrow, I'm worried, like, it's just a weird MOU.
Yeah, I think the term that throws me, because usually you have a term and then or it's either in perpetuity until someone cancels it.
3-year.
But this is this is essentially a year-by-year agreement, and it has to be renegotiated every year.
It's a 1-week agreement.
Then they have to renegotiate it, re-sign it, come before the select board. It just seems like it's a lot of steps. I feel like
I don't know,
that was the kind of the point I was getting to.
I know we're getting to the minutiae here, but it just seems, it's a weird terms for it. I'm not sure who, I don't know
Yeah,
if the
you
terms
have a
are
comment,
now.
Joe?
It's just,
I see the wheels turning over there.
Well, so the only thing I'd recommend, and if Eric was amenable to it, could we amend the term to say that it effective upon the date signed and will be reviewed once the new field has been built and in operation for a year? And then
Yeah.
this gives us a term, at 1 year after the new field opens up, Sean and Eric or whoever is in their places will sit down and, review it, make sure that it still works for everybody, and if they have changes at that time, then they can make recommendations to a change. And if not, we'll just continue it as it is.
I'd say we continue as is, and like, that's right, the term should be at least a year, until, because once again, if we forget about this in a year, it goes away, and then we build the turf fields, and there's no MOU anymore. So let's vote until, like he says, a year after it's built, and then it stays unless there's a change, not that there has to be a renewal. I don't know, I'm not a
I
contract.
kind of like that it just stays
Right,
Yeah.
until there's a
Perpetuity.
change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, until a successor
Or in-
agreement,
or in-
until a successor agreement is negotiated.
I mean, you don't have to say anything, you can just have it in perpetuity, and there's language in there that it could be amended, and that, when the field is built, and that one party comes and wants to change it, there can be.
it can be amended, Bob,
You can amend
it's
it
more about
then.
not being terminated, but it can be amended by
Right.
both parties.
You don't have
with
to
agreement of
terminate
both
the
parties.
agreement, you can just keep it in perpetuity, and then when the fields are built and you have a better idea of the scheduling, you can amend it, and then just re-sign it then. You don't have to visit it every year.
Every year. We forget
And it just-
sometimes to revisit things on a yearly
I
basis.
mean, it's not,
Yeah, and I would say if we don't need to revisit it every year, why
Why revisit it?
why go through all
Right.
that?
Right.
Makes sense.
All right, so
I think,
you want
I think that from the school side, it makes sense to go with the in perpetuity unless, we need to make a change.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
Eric, is the school committee, will the school committee act on this, or is this just going to be executed by you?
No, I'm gonna bring it to them. If you approve it tonight, I'll bring it to them on Thursday night.
But he's signing it, not the committee.
So
You
can we wordsmith it right now, you think, and then approve
I think
it?
so.
I think you have at least one lawyer here that could probably offer some ideas for how to restructure item number 3 in the article.
We're staring at you, Tom.
yeah, I mean.
I think we can make it general and say we
All right,
make
so-
a motion to authorize Joe to modify the terms of the contract, number 3 MOU, to state that the contract is in perpetuity
I'm not an
until a
attorney.
change is mutually agreed to by
We
both
got one on
parties.
retainer, though.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would,
The agreement's for perpetuity unless
right.
both
Unless, Tom,
parties-
you think you
unless
can do it right
agree-
now
amendment
fairly
is
easily.
I would
agreed
just
by
say
both
this
parties.
MOU is effective upon the day and date signed and executed by the duly authorized representative, blah, 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 shall remain in full force and effect until terminated or amended by either party. Right? Either terminated by, because.
Terminated or amended?
What's that?
Terminated by either party or amended
Or
by
amended.
mutual agreement.
Yeah. I think that's all you need, then you can keep the language about this may be terminated without cause, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
all the other stuff that's kind of boilerplate.
And then you
Okay.
can kind of get rid of the 1 year, and you can get rid of the extended annually.
I would say after 1 year after the field, it can be terminated or changed, or I give it that.
Give that grace period.
pepperoni, and after.
That has to be in place for at least a year
After
before
it
someone
can be
terminate.
terminated or modified, as agreed.
You could, but I don't think Eric or the school committee is going to pull the rug out next week on us.
That's fine.
You're not, right, Eric?
Yeah, he's on the record now.
Eric, if you could send me this in Word format, I'll amend item number 3 in the contract the way the select board is just clarified, and if they vote that, then I'll send it right back to you, and you can have that to take to the school committee. Is that all right with you?
Okay, perfect. Sounds good.
Speaking of voting that.
So I'll make a motion to approve the MOU as amended.
Second.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, ayes have it. Unanimous. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Eric, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
All right, up next we have request for temporary outdoor dining at 15 Walnut.
So this is just requesting the same outdoor dining that 15 Walnut has had under the pandemic
Apparently
rules for the
have,
last
right.
couple of years. As you know, the state, with effective middle of this month, is going to withdraw the pandemic, but they did vote, and it was signed by the governor to extend some provisions, including what they refer to as abbreviated outdoor license application. So I know it's for this year, and they may offer it for next year as well, but I know at least for this year, you are able to follow the same process you followed the last couple of years to allow 15 Walnut to have outdoor dining. This has been reviewed by all of the necessary boards and department heads, and it is in, as I said, the same as the last 2 years, and they were all okay with it. They're basically signed off on it.
All right, it's basically continuing exactly what they have.
Continuing exactly what they had the last 2 or 3 years. And we have somebody here to answer questions.
Hi, I'm Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Serenity Restaurant Group, formerly of 15 Walnut, so I'm very familiar with their area.
Does anybody have any questions for Monica or any?
I think it's great. Has there been any issues with neighbors, complaints, noise, litter?
No, I think if there had been any issues or complaints or noise, the police would have raised an issue about it. Nobody's
No
complained.
one
about
did.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, we
I
haven't
love
heard
it.
anything.
The biggest concern was around the number of seats and, 15 Walnuts, access to the shared septic in the park there. There was a requirement last year to check on it. They did, and it lasted for the whole year. So their health department did not raise any new concerns this year.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the request for temporary outdoor dining at 15 Walnut.
Second.
Second by Bill. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Thank you, that was easy, right, Monica?
Yeah, see you on the patio.
Like the lights
Yeah.
out there too, Monica. Like the lights. Lights are good addition.
All right, up next, Select Board Liaison Roles. I got one list back.
Yeah, I dropped
I'm
the ball.
not pointing any
They're gonna have
fingers.
an they're gonna have an auction.
I didn't know it was.
Can I have a lottery?
Yeah.
We just pick them at random.
auction,
Oh,
they go
you
to
know what?
fundraiser.
If, I'll say,
Fundraiser.
I sent you one, right?
you did. You were the only one,
I just
my
wanted
friend.
that for the record.
Hold on.
The new guy is, he's.
It's the honeymoon
Yeah,
phase.
the honeymoon phase.
He lost.
He gets everything then, right?
I see it now. I see it now.
What I'll say is, please, by next meeting, send it back to me with, what you'd like. You can do
just
repeat of
not-
last year.
I think we should knock this out.
Do you want to just knock it
I
out?
think we could just knock it out. Nobody's gonna do it after this. Come on.
Yes, knock it out.
Yeah, I'll probably
right.
not do it, so.
I appreciate the honesty. I was gonna say the ultimatum was I literally get a hat next time.
No,
we
no, no.
draw.
I think the first thing we need to do is
been a
you
busy
need,
couple
you
weeks.
need to tell us
You fill it out and give it back to us, that's all.
what did Bill Wilson say he wanted?
I didn't yet.
No, Wilson, not
hold on
Wilson.
one
It's not
second, let
about
me
you
see.
now.
Yeah.
There's two
Bill, you
Bills.
wanna-
It's gonna be tough,
Bill
it's real.
Wilson.
I guess it's slower.
Wilson.
Bill Wilson.
I know. Willie, I guess.
Yeah, what did you want?
I don't know, I don't remember. No. I think I said I could do the master steering, Caroline,
I was
since I'm there.
hoping that you were gonna really.
I do have I've worked a lot with the schools in the past, willing to do that, but
Oh, Tom, did you hear him?
But you can have it. It's a lot of, lots going on there. I don't know. Is it in here filled out or no?
Yours is filled out. The one that you sent me was.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find my email from.
Just so you know,
from
Bill,
Lori.
last year I took a pretty aggressive stance as well on some of my committees. So if you want to.
Tom Meyer went all in.
I would like to keep FinCom and Board of Health.
I like to keep the Concom. I enjoy the Concom.
I did a real shit job with
Did
the
you
COA.
enjoy the planning board?
What?
Did you enjoy the planning board?
Oh, I put COA on there too, if you
Oh,
want.
We
Are
have
you
the
a good
planning board.
COA
Planning board
liaison?
is.
I've done it before. I mean, I do,
That's the planning board's all yours.
I mean, I
Bill.
could take planning board back.
Yeah, no, that's all yours.
As you can, just so you know, I've got this blank one in front of me, and I'm going through and checking people off as you say things.
Great.
so-
all right.
I was gonna go through like the last one. It just-
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll go through last year's roles and refresh your memories on what you had.
Yeah.
Slide everything to the right.
Bill Olson, you had the Ag Commission, Hamilton Foundation, the CAM, HW CAM, the Public Library Trustees, Open Space Committee,
BA.
which is now the HEIC, basically, and the ZBA.
The library for the planning board.
Okay, well, don't get too far here. So Tom Meyer, you had the Board of Assessors, you had Tobacco Woods, the Concom, the HEIC, which, didn't you trade with Caroline, I think?
Yeah, well, that's not really the yeah, now it's Caroline's.
Yeah, you had the School Committee, and you had the Planning Board. Caroline, you had Board of Health,
Yep,
Council on Aging,
yep.
FinCom, Cultural Council, Master Plan Steering Committee, and I had Capcom, CPC, North Shore Aggie, Historic District Commission, Historical Society, and the Patent Homestead. And Jamie Knudsen, which is now up in the air, are the Affordable Housing Trust, HDC, Housing Authority, Human Rights Commission, Rec Board, and the MBTA representative, which is now Joe.
What did Bill
I'm the
Wilson
MAP.
have?
Yeah, I
I mean,
pulled mine up.
MAPC, sorry, MAPC.
What'd you have, Bill?
So I had put in, and I'm flexible, Capital Committee, if you want something like that, Joe, since I've got a lot of history with them. I had the Council of Aging, HDC, School Committee, and the Master Plan Steering Committee. So
So
yeah,
Hamilton
1, 2, 3.
Development Corporation's an easy one, because that's what,
So I don't need that if someone wants
well, that's
that.
an easy
or-
one, because that's what one of them Jamie was on.
And the HDC, I mean, you don't have to go to the meetings, but they meet, I think, Wednesday, is it Wednesday mornings?
I could hound Scott.
Yeah, it's Wednesday mornings. yeah.
So how many did you put, you need a couple more, Bill.
There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Where does the school building?
Master
committee-
plan's gonna be a lot of work, and the schools.
That's-
The school building committee?
I'm happy to, though.
School Building Committee, Bill is because he
Plan.
was appointed, and it was approved by the state. So Bill Olson was already named as on the
He's-
School Building Committee,
he's stuck
along
with
with me.
For
He's
what?
stuck with that one.
The School Building Committee.
School Building Committee.
Okay.
Oh, so that's different than,
That's different than the School Committee.
it's a state thing.
The state has to sign off on the liaisons, so.
fair enough.
So I can.
So what else? Yes. So what are we thinking, like 8 each or
Do
something?
you want me just to kind of, yeah, let me see, how many do we have here? One,
These
two,
need to be
three,
weighted on
4,
work as well,
5,
so.
6.
Yeah, you've really
2,
gone for the
4,
two
that I did not do
6,
last time, but
2,
I'd like to, would be
4, 6, 2. It looks like most people have 5 or 6.
So I would definitely like, so because the master plan is supposed to be one representative from us on
Yeah.
their board, and he's the chair already.
Right.
Can you be a chair of a chair?
I hope not. I mean, I don't know, no.
I
you
will,
can.
I will cede the master
master
plan
plan.
to
To Bill?
Bill,
Okay.
which then means I probably need to pick up one of Jamie's.
Yep.
Which one is the lowest lift?
BTA rep?
No, that's Joe.
That's Joe now.
No, he's MAPC rep.
I'm the
There is an
MAPC rep.
MBTA. That one's
Is
hardly
there-
anything. You read the emails from him.
But is that also including that response? And is it a conflict of interest since my husband's on the response committee?
For the MBTA?
I don't think so, because is he financially benefiting?
The
All about
MBTA,
financial
Okay.
benefit.
Yeah.
the MBTA representative is just to interface with the MBTA
Don't make any
and
decisions.
send stuff. You don't really.
Like if they say, hey, here's the latest news, and Hamilton's losing 3 stops a
Yeah,
day.
or, yeah, we're going to reduce the number of trains that come through Hamilton.
It's not a good job for me. Let's move on.
Sounds great. So
What about some
Caroline,
of the
do that one.
housing density stuff that comes with that? Is that part of that?
That's, no, the housing, the MBTA housing zoning is going to have to be through the planning board. The planning board's going to have to recommend how to bring that into.
So back to
bring
Bill
down
on
the
that
zone.
one. That's good.
Right,
That's-
what's-
Yeah, I'm giving
Is
planning board to
Bill on the planning board?
Bill's on planning, right?
I'm gonna take planning board, and I would, but I
Bill,
can,
you're gonna be Bill O.
What, you want to take what, though? What do you,
I can give up library,
I'll take library.
library goes to Tom?
and then recreation board was Jim.
You mean Jamie?
What's the recreation board?
I'll take recreation board.
You got to manage that MOU.
And then, but the big one is the Human Rights Commission. That's what he spent a lot of effort on, so that's a bigger lift.
Tom Myers would love that one.
I don't
Sorry,
have
my
effort
phone
in me.
I could do that too if
You need-
Tom doesn't want to do it.
All right, Human Rights Commission, Bill.
Congratulations.
Okay.
But who wants to take on I guess ZBA and Planet Board kind of go together, so that's fine. I'm gonna give up Open Space Committee that I'm taking on.
Yeah.
I think we could,
Taking
can we
HTC.
give
Open
up
Space
open
Committee
space?
is almost coming to a close. They gotta get,
Yeah.
they gotta get the rec plan, the open space plan approved by the state, but
Why don't I take
Patrick's working on
Open
that now.
Space Committee?
Okay.
Just because they're kind of wrapping stuff up and it's almost over.
I didn't do
basically.
anything for Agricultural Commission, so I don't even know what that is.
That nothing really ever happens with that.
All right, so I'll keep that. I'll keep
if you want to make me the
Agricultural
MBTA rep too, I'll
Hamilton
take that.
Foundation.
Okay. If you guys are fine, sorry, I had to interrupt you, Bill, just for a second. If we make Joe the MBTA rep as well?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Is there a similar rep with Logan?
I don't think so.
I don't think. you
Flight
have a seat.
patterns, I mean,
I
over
don't think you have
Hamilton.
a seat on that board.
But I'm trying to think remember years ago when they changed the flight pattern and everyone was all up in arms about it, but basically it's because the South Shore complained enough and they changed it now to the North Shore, basically is what happened.
Yeah.
I can't remember who, I don't think there was any kind of a task force or anything that got
We
started.
had assigned somebody to it, though, just for updates, and they would get all, but I guess if you haven't heard anything in 6 years, then.
I haven't heard
Can
anything.
we go line by line?
Yeah, well,
Ag-
I was gonna say this, because I've got
Yeah.
4 that haven't
So
been
Ag
finished.
Commission is staying, even though we don't know what it is, with Olson.
Yep,
Correct.
Board of
Board of
Assessors
Assessors-
is currently Tom. Are you keeping it?
Yeah, I'll keep it.
okay.
Board of Health, Caroline.
You cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Capcom, Sean.
But we're going to
Capcom
Bill.
is now Bill
Bill.
Go to Bill.
Okay.
Wilson.
Bill Wilson is now Capcom. Chabaco Woods Land Management Committee
Tom.
is currently Tom.
Yep.
Staying Tom.
It's
Tobacco
really
Trail Group? What are we talking about?
Tobacco Woods
Chabaco
Land
Woods
Management.
Land
Oh,
Management.
yeah.
super heavy lifting.
It kind of goes hand in hand with Conservation
Yeah,
Commission.
heavy lift.
Okay, CPC.
Sean.
Sean is keeping it.
Yeah, I'll stay on.
Conservation Commission, Tom is keeping it.
Yep.
Council on Aging, Caroline will keep it.
Okay,
Essex North Shore Agricultural and Technical School is currently Sean. Are you keeping it?
I can keep it, yeah.
FinCom, Caroline's keeping it.
Okay.
Affordable Housing Trust.
That was Jamie.
What happened? What is it? Can Jamie explain it
You're-
to me when he comes to my house occasionally?
Yeah.
He can't.
So Affordable Housing Trust, you're on the board.
Oh.
You're a voting member.
You're a voting member on the
No,
board.
thank you, not it.
I can't attend all.
I can either do that or the Human Rights Commission. I can't do both, so which is more?
Okay, wait.
Human
how
Rights
oft-
Commission is monthly. The Affordable Housing Trust is not monthly.
Is it like longer than that?
Sometimes it's longer than that, and then sometimes they have to get together a couple times in a row because they've got, they don't have anything in front of them right now.
Jamie
but-
Knudsen can be responsible for telling me and taking me in his car.
Yes.
Okay, then I will take
We'll put him under
the
that.
Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay.
Okay.
Climate Action Team, do we still need a liaison to the, or is that HEIC now?
I think is it changed on the
Is
new
there a
list?
climate action team? Yeah, it's in here as a
Sorry, I'm looking at last
Yeah, we're looking at last year's, but I think,
Environmental Impact Committee is what it's in there is now, and I still have Caroline there.
It's like HEIC,
yeah.
which is all those, yeah, I'll keep HEIC.
is it
That gives
doubled on
Caroline
list,
7
or
already.
Is
No,
there an HEIC on that?
it's EIC here, it doesn't have it here, so it's
Okay.
only in there once.
That's that, okay.
Okay. HDC,
Bill Wilson said he'd do it.
Bill Wilson is
yep.
doing it. The Hamilton Foundation,
That was you, Bill.
was
That's
Bill
me,
Wilson.
yeah.
Do you want to stay on that?
Yep.
Okay,
Historic District Commission, Sean.
I can stay on that.
Historical
with the next
Society,
one, I can stay on
also
that.
Sean. Housing Authority,
That was that you, Bill, we're going to take that one, or who was going to take that one?
I think that's one wait, Housing Trust and Housing Authority are different?
Different.
Two
Yeah,
totally
but I
different
think they
things.
kind of go together, though. You take one,
Did you
both.
take the,
I took the housing, I took the one where I have to be a member. Which one's that?
so that's,
Affordable housing. Is the Housing Authority, is the other one on Railroad Ave, is that?
Yeah.
That's just
you could take that one
Yeah.
too. It's
Those should go together.
It's not really anything.
Okay.
You may just have to talk to their liaison once in a while.
Great,
If
I'll
anything
take the
comes-
authority
It's a
then.
sleeper.
Who decided they were taking the
I am.
HRC?
I am.
That's Bill
Bill's
Olson.
taking the human
Yeah.
rights.
Cam
The
was,
Access,
That's me.
okay, can keep that one.
Cultural Council,
You want to keep that one? Who had that one?
That was
Caroline.
Caroline.
That's me, and I didn't even know I was it.
What is it?
They meet once a year,
Great.
twice a year.
Who?
I'll send you the emails.
Great.
They meet once to discuss the grants, they meet the next time they hand them out.
Great. Can't wait to learn more after a year.
And it's usually middle of the.
You didn't attend the one meeting?
I didn't even know.
It's
I
usually.
apologize.
It's usually kind of I'll say mid-school year. So it's like December, January, February kind of
Great.
thing, I think,
Such a nice time. Okay.
if I remember right.
Public library trustee, who just took that one? Someone
Tom.
swapped it.
Tom just took it.
Tom is the public library.
And you're taking the rec board, Caroline?
Either I will or. did
Well,
you?
I was gonna say, that gives her 8.
Yeah, no,
Nobody else
let's
has more than
Let's
6.
give that one to,
Okay.
school committee is that going to Wilson, or is
I
that
was gonna
staying
keep
with?
that, unless you have a burning desire for it.
I just, I don't mind either way, but I don't have a lot then if we do, but that's
Why
okay.
don't-
We can
why
come
don't
back
we-
around.
yeah,
and
why don't we go
I could do
through and then-
COA if you'd like, Caroline or something like that.
Because as of right now, Bill Wilson only has 4, and Tom only has 4.
Not quite done
Well,
yet.
I was gonna say, there's some really big ones coming up, so I think the
Let's
question
go
is-
through the list, and then we'll go back and we'll say,
Okay.
you have 7, you have 3, you have whatever, and then we'll
All
try
right,
and
so leave
balance
him
out.
on that.
So Tom's staying on the school committee for now.
Master plan is,
Is
May.
Wilson. MBTA is
I
gonna be Joe.
hope to finish that by
that's
July.
Joe.
MAPC is gonna be
The
Joe.
PC is Joe.
Open Space Committee is
That's
shuttering.
me. I'll stay with the Patton Homestead.
Planning
I'm
Board
gonna take that.
is gonna go to Olson. Veterans Services,
That's
Is
Joe.
Joe, and ZBA.
ZBA.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 8 for Bill Olson right now.
1, 2, 3,
Only
4, 5.
only 3 for Bill Wilson. 4 for Tom Myers. 7 for Caroline and 6 for Sean. So Bill and Caroline could offload a little to Tom and Bill Wilson.
Would you like to take COA?
Yeah, sure, if that
Or
helps. and-
very low maintenance?
Yep.
And by that, I mean.
I'll take COA.
Can you, I only have 1, 2, I only have 6. Can you read me my,
I have Bill Olson as having Agricultural Committee,
yep,
Hamilton Foundation, Human Rights Commission,
yep,
Hamilton Wenham Community Access Board,
yep,
Hamilton Wenham Recreation Board,
yep.
School Committee?
No.
No?
No, that's me.
Tom Myers.
Tom.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Okay.
Planning Board and ZBA. 1,
That's it,
2,
you got
3,
it.
4, 5,
7.
6. That's 7 for Bill Olson, okay? And then
That gives
1, 2,
Tom
3, 4,
5.
5 for Tom, and 1, 2, 3, 4 for Bill Wilson.
And did you add
So
COA
Bill,
to?
so Bill
I added
Wilson.
I added
You want,
COA as Bill Wilson.
ZBA or Hamilton Foundation?
Yeah, I'll take whatever, what's the Hamilton Foundation, I mean, I know what it is, but do they meet regularly, or happy to do that?
My wife just joined that board, and they meet periodically, I would say. It's not a heavy lift at all.
Yeah, no, I don't mind a
Follow up
lift.
with Heather or
I'll do that,
Jane
whatever,
or
is
whoever.
that, I mean, does zoning and planning go well together, or do you want me to do that, or foundation? I'll do either.
What do you think makes sense? Does zoning and planning usually go together? Doesn't usually, but does it?
It can, but it doesn't have to.
It doesn't have
Some
to.
saucy
and-
stuff coming up for planning.
I would unload one of those on Bill, and you keep the Hamilton Foundation if you want.
Yeah, when you take the
Or you
ZB
could unload both of them.
I take ZBA.
All right, done.
I think it's good to have some, not both, same person on both of those, because they can
Right.
be in competition of each other.
Okay.
It's good to get
Yeah.
2 different opinions on it.
Okay.
So now I have 1, 2,
I've got
3,
6,
4.
you've got 5. And once again, 2 of mine are the CAM and Agricultural Commission, which don't really do anything.
They're not,
so-
yeah, they're,
Yeah.
So I got 5 for Bill Wilson. Those are Capital Committee, Council on Aging, Hamilton Development Corp., Master Plan Steering Committee, and ZBA.
Got it.
Okay. I have 5 for Bill Olson, 6 for Bill Olson, sorry. Agricultural Commission, Hamilton Foundation, right. Hamilton Human Rights Commission, Hamilton Community Access Board,
Recreation.
Recreation, and Planning Board.
Yep.
Okay. For Tom Myers, we are showing Board of Assessors, Chabaco Woods, Conservation Commission, Library Trustees, and School Committee. For Caroline, we have Board of Health, Environmental Impact Committee, Finance and Advisory Committee, Affordable Housing Trust, Housing Authority, and the Cultural Council. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
For 6. And Sean Farrell has Community Preservation Committee, Essex North Shore Aggie, Hamilton Historic District, and the Historical Society, the Open Space Committee, and the Patton Homestead. 4-6.
Sound good?
That was amazing.
That was really,
But we
who
did.
said bang it out? Nice.
Yes.
Who says government's glacial?
Okay.
So
This group.
Get
we'll
stuff
have,
done.
we'll have Joe transcribe that or give the Lori, and she'll send out a
Yep.
a
yep.
list to
We'll
everybody
get that
once we.
taken care of tomorrow.
Effective July 23?
Effective immediately.
Effective
got it.
immediately. So I guess if you want, if you haven't been on one of the liaison roles before, when Lori sends out the thing, just verify what you have, and I would recommend reaching out to the chair of whatever committee.
And there's usually a director that goes along with it, with all the different chairs. Is
Yeah,
that
and can you have Lori send that out too?
Yeah.
If you could, maybe
Yeah.
have her send out liaison roles, the chairs and et cetera, and then maybe also just kind of preemptively, the appointment times, because we're gonna be coming up on that.
Yeah,
in a
we're
month or so.
gonna be, she has all that ready to go for June, so.
So then
we
I guess you just reach out to your chairs and say, hey, I'm the person that's gonna be relaying stuff back to the boards.
We have some proposed dates for meetings from now till the end of, or actually, you had already approved June meetings, so
Yeah.
this would be July through December.
So last year, we canceled the meeting the week of July 4th because people were all traveling, and Tom and I had entered a new era of meeting cancellations. So my first question would be, is everyone already planning on traveling that week, and would it behoove us to preemptively cancel or rearrange that meeting?
Why don't we, and I apologize, I didn't look at this list before tonight. Why don't we tentatively look at it now, tentatively agree on it, and then if something does come up in the next week, we'll just revisit it and cancel or rearrange. Because sometimes they're on a holiday or something that we've missed. We've had a handful on some Jewish holidays that,
And a Monday
Lori
becomes a
Lori checked
Tuesday.
these
Or
pretty,
vacation.
Lori did a pretty good job checking
Did she?
these, make
Okay.
sure we stayed away from them.
I already know I'm gonna be out, I won't be there July 5th or the 17th.
That's your birthday, isn't it?
Well, July 5th is my birthday, but and the 5th and the 17th, I'll be in San Diego.
I don't work on Tom's birthday either, so. I think Tuesdays after Fest is also the first day of school. Isn't it start?
Yes.
Yeah.
Starts after Labor Day.
Starts after Labor Day. Again, not deal breakers, but just there's gonna be a lot of emotions, and you know how I like to not work when I'm high on emotions.
And the remote policy is pretty flexible still, just like through COVID, that's
Yeah.
not changing.
Yep.
That has been extended through 2025.
yeah, if you're geographically challenged, you can always zoom in.
Yep. Oh, June 19th is a Monday.
Yeah, I
The
think we-
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at all the.
we've already,
This one- this
we've
one-
already moved that meeting.
Look at
Yeah,
all the
that
dates.
one's already
We
been
moved that
moved.
That one's already been moved.
No, no, I'm
June-
saying, I'm looking at all the, we have a lot of meetings not on Mondays this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least like 5,
Oh, yeah.
which is surprising.
Wednesday, Tuesday, I've only seen two more
Keep going.
after June, no.
Why is the meeting, is Monday, July 3rd observed, or is that just a bad day?
Monday, July, the assumption is that a
Long
lot of
weekend.
people will be gone for a long weekend. If the Tuesday's the holiday, most people take Monday. It'll be
Take Monday
difficult to
off.
get people. So we proposed Wednesday to give you guys a chance to actually have a meeting that week. If you decide that you don't want to have a meeting that week, just let us know.
I feel like I'm being very clear about my feelings on this, y'all.
I'll be gone.
October 16th is my birthday, so
Happy birthday!
we'll be meeting.
2 days after my birthday.
Birthday cakes.
We'll bring you cake and liquor. Non-alcoholic liquor, obviously.
So-
Do you want to go ahead and approve it, and then
Let's
later?
And
approve
then-
it, and then you guys won't be here on the 5th.
I won't be here on the 17th either.
Okay. I'm just thinking of quorum stuff. As long as the Bills and I are here, we could be fine to do the 5th. If there's another conflict, let us know. We'll move that.
Okay.
I move that we approve the select board meeting schedule through the end of the year, starting July 1st.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right. Please let Joe or myself or Lori know if you got any other times. I gotta look at my calendar, see, because I'm out of town a bunch this summer too, but.
Did we already announce that we're not having the June town meeting?
No, you have to discuss that under new business.
That's our
Oh,
new
that's
business.
Your business?
So, speaking of new business, Caroline,
I I heard a rumor that we are not having a June town meeting after all. Chair, could you tell us more about that?
I would love to.
Thank you.
Don't we have some bills to appropriate?
We figured out a fancy way to certify the free cash. Is that what I heard?
So, do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
All right, so when, prior to the joint meeting on Thursday night, we had been hearing from the planning board that they needed more time on the zoning article. And the challenge for us was that we have a free cash certification right now in hand that says we have enough free cash to be able to handle the town hall. But that free cash certification, as it does every year, expires on June 30th.
Right.
And I have a new finance director, so I wanted to make sure that we could actually do the work we'd need to do in time to get it recertified in the fall if we wanted to push everything to the fall.
Right.
Between Wendy and Markham, they basically told us that they are confident that we can have free cash recertified by October, so that if we wanted to move the entire agenda for the special town meeting to late October or early November, we can accommodate that. Also wanted to check with the rest of the staff, because we've kind of gone back and forth with the staff about the town hall project, right? We've been up and down, and so we just told them that you guys were having the special town meeting in June so that we could get it done. And, but the staff that I spoke with, particularly Town Clerk Corinne Kale and Tim Olson, who would be in charge of managing the project, were both okay with moving it. Tim actually thinks it'll give him a little bit more breathing room, and he thinks that we will likely, if you move it and we don't have a special town meeting until the end of October to beginning of November, we may still move staff out to the Patton Homestead in September, October. We figure that then it won't be a rush. We can take our time, move people a little bit, get everybody used to the idea, and then be ready, hopefully, for a positive vote to happen at a special town meeting, and then we're ready to hit the ground running. Tim actually thinks the additional time could work in our favor. That was originally his plan before we accelerated it to accommodate the zoning, which now had to be put off anyway. So it's a little bit back and forth, but we can move everything to late October, early November, if you like. And
What do you prefer, late October or early November?
I'd like to kind of figure out what the free cash situation is.
Certification.
Like, when we're getting closer to certified, like maybe hopefully in August. You think we'll have a better idea?
I think we'll have an idea at the end of August. We'll be able to say that we're going to be submitting with the state, filing with the state by X date, and therefore we expect, past experience tells us that if you file early, and we've had a little bit of turnover with finance director the last few years, right? We had Alex for a little over a year and a half, and Wendy just walked in. But prior to that, we had some stability. And when Marissa was here, bless you, when Marissa was here, she would always file early, and we always had a free cash certification about a month after we filed. So we always had a free cash certification in October when Marissa was here. Alex was new to it, so it took a little longer. I wanted to make sure that we could get it done early this year before recommending that to you. And I've been told that they will get it done. And I think having Markham help us will go a long way towards it. They effectively do the filing for 14 other towns, so they'll be able to help us get ours in time.
Yeah.
Who was that again? Sorry.
Markham.
Markham is an auditing and accounting firm that does municipal work. And so there are 14 towns that don't even have a town accountant. They just hire Markham to run their books. They're smaller than we are. We have a need to have accounting help, but we still have a finance director, and we'll determine later this year whether we keep Markham on or we reduce Markham's role and bring in another body. We're trying to figure
So
out.
are they,
To your question that you asked earlier about staffing.
they're your staff and agency, basically?
Right now they are.
Got it.
Right now they
Makes sense.
are. They've been working.
think that-
They've been working out well.
Yeah.
But we just need to.
But what is the file date to file early? When would you?
Right around September 1st. Well, if we can have everything ready at the end of August, we can get in. And usually, if you file early, the state turns it around quickly.
Yeah.
The longer it takes you, if you don't file till November or December, then you might not hear until February.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
kind of what happened this year.
Get ahead of it. I think late October would be fine, but you've got to make sure the team can get behind that, so.
Yeah. And I think, Joe and I were kind of thinking the end of October or like the first week of November was kind of my
And we don't have to pick it now, right?
You don't have to pick it now.
Just that window.
I would just ask for a vote to postpone
To punt.
the previously planned STM from June 28th to a date to be determined in the future. And then let me get some days and times. Do you want to still focus on a weeknight like we were going to do in June? Or do you want to go back to the Saturday morning the way we traditionally have done? I know that there are some people, according to Cleo, that would like to see us go back to nights, but that's up to you.
I prefer the nights. That's the way I used to like it when we had it at nights.
Do we have any type of attendance history, either here or elsewhere, Joe, that?
So you've been on Saturday since before I got here. My understanding is that it moved to Saturdays because you were trying to elicit a better attendance, but I don't think it really moved the needle a lot in one way or the other.
It was a citizen's petition that changed it, and it was for ATM. STM wasn't included in the citizen's petition.
Okay.
And part of the reasoning, as Joe said, was more attendance and thoughts on elderly folks driving home at night, I think was another concern.
Got it.
And sometimes, as you know, if you've been doing them in the past, we had them on the weeknights, sometimes they carried over the 2 nights. But it wasn't a...
Many
wasn't all
towns
the
do them
time.
on weeknights and have multiple meetings. So like the town I live in, Swampscott, has, their annual town meeting will begin Monday, May 15th, and town moderator has told people to reserve Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday that week, just in case it has to go 3 nights.
And we've
I prefer nights, I just want
Yeah.
to be sensitive to all those
Yeah.
who.
And
need to
we've
get
been
there.
averaging, since we started the clickers, we've
Yep.
been averaging about 4 hours, I think, on a meeting.
I think soup to nuts, getting everything in and done, but I think the voting's usually been about 3.5 hours.
Right.
So if you look at it that way, you had a weeknight meeting at 7, you're probably done by 11. And
This one would be-
if we're able to keep the agenda short, you're still going to have a lot of discussion around the 2 things that you're talking about having a town meeting for. There'll be a lot of discussion. There'll need to be a presentation on the
Yeah,
town hall.
that's a
and
good
what's
point.
There'll need to be a lot of a presentation on the town hall on what's changed from the last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there will be debate around a zoning overlay district if it comes forward, so.
And we had talked after this ATM, I think, maybe Caroline brought it up, but it's been kind of discussed in the past. They have kind of we do our reports in the beginning, at least pre-COVID, we used to do the reports. The chair would read a report, the FinCom would do a report. But maybe we flip that and we don't have that at town meeting. Maybe it's another night before town meeting where you do reports and stuff like that, because, it adds a lot of time to town meeting when you're voting. And the reports aren't crucial for a vote. They're just the reporting out of kind of state
could
of the
be a
union
handout
stuff.
as
Right.
well.
It could be a handout as well.
That makes sense.
So food for thought.
2 big topics.
Yep.
2 big topics, but not really a lot else, and just bills of the prior year, right, as of right now, and we're gonna do our best to keep it that way. Virginia's got her hand up.
Virginia, you want to add something?
I just want, can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Okay, great. I had 3 comments and I figured I was gonna wait till as close to the end as I could, but
You're there.
I didn't want to miss the end. So one comment was that Conservation Commission is back to needing 2 people. The last lady decided it wasn't for her.
Okay.
The other thing, another one was, I believe that Mr. Wilson, very early in this meeting, referred to a public information meeting. Sounded like it would be the 3rd Wednesday of this month, which I believe is the 17th. And
That's for the master plan.
Yep.
And you guys
if
have a
I'm right
meeting that
about
night,
that,
Virginia?
that is the same night as Conservation Commission. No, it may mean nothing, maybe, but I just wanted to remind you. All right, and the 3rd item was concerning the Logan Airport and the planes going by.
Mm-hmm.
The complaint that had been made and what wasn't done as a result. I never physically called you folks up because I figured we were sort of like we people and compared to the greater Boston area, and they'd more likely be polite and say, yes, we understand, and then do what they need to do. I just want to make a comment on that, and that I live over in Water Street, and I moved in 70, and I never heard a plane over my house until what I thought happened is that new runway that runs out over in the Hart, when they put that one in and rearranged their stacking of planes around for waiting to land and take off. That's, I thought, when that started. It's interesting. It's noisier coming over my house than over my sister's, and she's under the approach for the southern end there, and very close. And I can look up at the bottom of the plane. It's closer than we have around here, but it doesn't seem to be as noisy. I don't understand. But anyway, so those are the 3 items I just wanted to respond to. Thank you.
Thanks, Virginia. Your meeting, Bill, the information session, where is it?
It's a Zoom call.
Zoom call, that's
It's
what
a
I
Zoom
thought.
call.
I
So
didn't think it was anywhere.
there was a handout at town meeting, and we're going
If
to
it's
start
gonna be-
blasting
oh,
it
sorry.
to
If it's gonna
everybody.
be
I think
Zoom-
it starts at 6:30. I said 7, but on the 17th. We did discuss some conflicts in meetings that night, but it just worked for
Yeah.
the majority of folks.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta
Yeah.
break an egg,
And,
break an
yeah,
omelet.
and we don't have a coordinator to, who knows how to make that, go.
All right, thanks, Virginia.
Thank you. Do you think, I mean, I don't want to bring something else back up, but she brought up the flight path again. Should we slash MBTA and transportation to keep?
Could you look through your
keep their ear
channels
to
to see
the-
if there's any Logan thing? Because there wasn't, how many years ago was it? It was probably 6 years
Yeah,
ago
I think
or
it was
so?
6, yep.
All of a sudden, it was like plane after plane after plane
Yeah.
over my house.
Yeah.
And it was because the South Shore lobbied enough to switch
And I
the
think
flight
we
pattern.
put somebody, I think Mrs. Clark was heavily
Yeah,
involved, and we got a rep.
had a
and-
couple people.
And really, that person just got communications, and we would update the board on changes before they happened.
I'm just curious if there's any of that still existing.
Yeah.
Okay, I will look into that.
Do we need to do anything with the warrant? We've closed it, it just sits closed until we reopen it?
It's closed until you reopen it.
Okay.
I would like an official vote for you guys to postpone that meeting to a date certain. And then I thought we'd talk about whether you wanted to utilize the date or another date in June as an opportunity to have a little bit of a public forum, particularly on the zoning stuff. I don't think that we need to, at that point, do anything publicly more about the town hall yet, but
Yeah.
I mean, certainly about
I think the zoning stuff.
zoning
is-
stuff, it might be helpful. And that'll give Planning Board and John Witten a couple of weeks to kind of get working on things. I know John had a meeting with Marnie and Emil of the Planning Board via phone on Saturday. And they'll be meeting again tomorrow night, so I'm expecting a further update from John after tomorrow night. He wanted to try to get
some
the
stuff.
Planning Board wishes down on paper.
So I would entertain 2 motions. The first one is to postpone our June town meeting until October/November, to be determined in the fall.
So moved.
We can vote, it's on the agenda. It's okay.
Oh,
You can vote on things that are under new business. This
Yep.
only erupted because of Thursday night's joint meeting.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in time to put on the posted agenda. You can vote on
It's
that.
our discretion, so.
Really? I didn't know that.
Did you make a motion?
and I'm.
Second?
Second by Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, ayes have it. And then the second motion I would entertain would be to keep the June date for a public information session about progress on the overlay district.
What is that date?
It's Wednesday, June 28th.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, what was that?
So originally we had we had June 17th, I believe,
It was June 14th. It was 2 weeks earlier.
June 14th, sorry.
And then
Originally,
you
the June 14th date was going to be STM. And then the planning board expressed that they would meet that date, and they were more agreeable to the 28th, and we changed it to 28th. But we could use, I think, either of those dates, because I think the school's still open. So we could use the 14th or the 28th for an information session about the overlay district to show the progress of the planning board thus far.
We could do both topics, right? Or
We could, I mean, certainly Tim and I could provide an update on the status of the town hall project and where it stands. That can be a PowerPoint and just take a few questions at the end. That wouldn't need to be that long, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And then you could have about an hour or so to discuss and take input. I think that what came out of, my opinion, as town manager, what came out of Thursday night's meeting is that we do have a need to have multiple different ways to get the community input into the planning process. The abutters came out very visibly Thursday night, and that's great. Very glad to have them, and I think that the planning board heard them. I think that the select board heard them. But there were also 100 people that participated in 2 other community forums that deserve to be updated and asked for their input as well. So a community-wide meeting on either the 14th or the 28th. I would think the 14th might actually, I might be hurting myself because then I got to turn around and get it ready for the 14th, but it might engender a little bit more
Day of the week is that?
participation. It's a Wednesday night.
Wednesday, the last week of school. I like the 14th better. I pushed it to the 28th reluctantly because the chair of the planning board was out of town until then. But she's still out of town for that 14th meeting, if we do it on that night.
Yeah.
But she doesn't
But it's not, it's not a voting meeting, it's
not a
not
voting
presenting anything, it's just
Right.
kind of providing an update. Hopefully by then, other members of the planning board and John Witten would have enough of a draft that we could talk about what's in it, get feedback on it. Certainly, we'll work with HWCAM to have that taped so that it'll be available to be viewed afterwards as well, so.
So with that in mind, do we want to, I mean, we can mull it over for another meeting if we want to.
I love the idea. I mean, are we still expecting anytime soon that backwards calendar of what has to happen, what milestones
I
when?
think after John Witten's conversation on Saturday, I think hopefully we'll get something.
So there was a conversation with the chair and John Witten?
John and the chair spoke on Saturday, and I spoke to him today. He wanted to get through tomorrow night's meeting with the planning board,
Okay.
and then he said he would provide me a calendar that backs up from a date in late October, early November. So, he thinks that he doesn't want to characterize anything. He wants to have a good conversation with the full planning board tomorrow, and then provide the calendar for us and them.
I'm sure Bill will be at that meeting, so.
Do we, think that Gordon Conwell will sponsor like a pizza party that night, get people there, some pizza?
I don't know, maybe, we can ask.
We can ask.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Maybe they'll
I-
commit to trying.
So I'm getting the general sense that we want to do a public
think it's a
information
great idea.
session. But then
Yeah.
the question
All
is,
those letters you read talked about transparency
Right.
and, right, so.
But I think there should be a lot of meetings with the abutters between now and then. I don't want to hear the same thing
No,
on
Yeah,
I
June
agree.
14th.
I agree.
and so then I guess my follow-up to that is, do we want to do the 14th, that last week of school on the Wednesday, or do we want to do the 28th? The only issue with the 14th is that the planning board chair, I think, will be in Sardinia. But I don't,
I'm a big fan of doing it before school gets out.
me too, me
It's a
too.
big calendar date where people
Right. People are
disappear.
still going to be here. That's my thing.
You don't think that, yeah, but, so should we go the 7th versus the 14th? I mean, or is that too early? I mean, I think the chair
That's
might
a
want,
good question.
should be
Do
there.
you remember when she was going? I can't remember when she was going.
Don't remember when she was going.
I mean, I guess-
I find out what dates work.
Yeah, I'd throw it back to the planning board and
But,
say,
but
if
I
you're
think-
comfortable, leading it as a team without the chair, this is dates there and committed to, otherwise, provide a date.
It's a 7-person board, so there should be alternating.
There's plenty of
Right.
people that can
Voices that
take
can-
over.
yeah.
It's-
But I think it's important that they're represented, and it's important that it's in June,
Yeah.
before school gets out.
So if we can ask the chair if the 14th will be okay with her not being there, if somebody else can carry the torch, that would be our ideal situation. But if not, we push it
The 7th.
closer to the 7th or whatever night we can, I guess. Doesn't necessarily have to be a Wednesday night, but
John Witten's available.
yeah.
Yeah, he was planning to be at the.
He may drive, I mean, I wouldn't mind him driving it. He was very knowledgeable, but.
So, I have a question related to this when we're figure out a date. Good. So my question is just like to hear the chair and maybe Joe just remind us or refresh us. So we get a lot of emails, and when the people don't get responses to our emails, then they send more angry emails. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, what is because we shouldn't really respond because it's open meeting law, and we can't, so what is the recommended response so people know that we've actually read their letters and we appreciate them without creating a debate online?
I
What would you
typically try
recommend
to
we do?
respond to as many as I can. This last slate that we got last week, I've been slammed and I haven't been able to, but my goal over the next couple of days is to write those people back.
But what do you say?
Right.
Well, so.
Thank you for your,
You just want like an acknowledgement message?
It's basically an acknowledgement. Thank you for sharing your concerns. Please participate, go online, do this, here's the meetings, da-da-da.
and who do we copy on that? We can't copy more than you and Joe?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would.
Yeah.
Because you can't
Around
copy
that.
everybody.
You
'cause it
can't copy
be-
the whole
Yeah.
board. I would say that Patrick and I were also working on a kind of a canned statement that we could release. So we're almost done with that, so if you want, I can forward it to you.
As long as people know I'm reading it.
all
Yeah,
tomorrow.
But it's better
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah,
in
we're
public.
reading them all. It is tough sometimes, because people are like, well, I sent you an email, you know, and you're like, oh, I got it, I read it, but, yeah.
Okay, no, it's good, I think it's just good to hear that.
No, yeah, I guess if you do respond, just CC myself or Joe on it.
The public's
or both of
listening,
us.
yes, we do get them, we do read them, but
Yeah.
it's better to talk about it in a public forum than on
Yep.
an email back and forth.
Yeah.
Any thought about casting a net with the snail mail and getting everyone within a circumference?
So certainly, I'm going to talk to Patrick about trying to make sure, that, to do a town-wide snail mail, a bulk mailing it costs a few $1,000s.
Yeah, I mean within a mile radius
Yeah,
or so.
we would certainly, look to try to get the abutters notified, we can generate an abutters list and do that. Like, we normally require other people to do that, wouldn't be too expensive. As far as just giving them notices of the upcoming planning board hearings and things like that. So I've already asked Patrick to give me the list of the upcoming planning board dates and which days they expect to talk about the zoning. I expect most of them between now and August will be tied up that way.
Yeah.
Once I have that and then the timeline from Attorney Whitten, we'll try to put together something that we will at least notify the abutters and then make it available through social media on our town website and things like that.
Good, perfect.
May I comment?
Sure, Virginia, go ahead. You can be our last comment.
Okay, please, I want you to know that there's nothing that makes a resident feel good about their government when an official in town government actually responds, "Hi, Virginia, I got your message. They reply and answer the question they can, or they say, oh, that's gonna be discussed at such and such a time, or if they can't, say something. I really think it's very important. And the other thing is putting a canned response on the telephone or something. It's nothing easier to cut you off from your residents than to do that.
I misspoke, Virginia.
Of responding.
I think Joe, Virginia, or Virginia, Joe is speaking about kind of a dictated statement that
Yeah.
the select board, when we do respond,
Can add to our email.
we can add it to our email and kind of custom tailor it. He'll give us kind of a boilerplate of a return message, but then we'll each kind of individually spice it up a little bit, I guess, to include in the email with some different details, like you mentioned there, like when the meeting is, and we encourage your participation and thank you, et cetera.
I also think consistency is good, to send a similar message, because people don't think of all the questions, but they have the same questions.
Right.
So if they get the benefit of all the questions in some type of statement or comment, I think that goes a long way.
And specifically, Patrick and I started working on the statement mainly because the emails that we received, most of them had the same misinformation. A lot of the people assumed that there was a draft already that was going to be presented, and that as the residents themselves expressed at the meeting on Thursday night, some people felt like it was quote-unquote already a done deal.
Yeah.
That wasn't true at all. And we wanted to get a statement out there to say, look, we've just got what's essentially a first draft that we're starting to elicit comment for.
Right.
We're at the beginning of this zoning development process, not at the end of it.
Yep.
So we wanted to have a statement that said that and it corrected that, that information that was somehow got out there. I don't know where it came from, but it wasn't accurate, so.
Okay.
Anything else under new business? Other than that motion to,
I move that we adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, guys have it. It's unanimous. We're adjourned.